like to reconvene this meeting. Anybody out in the hallway, Mr. Steckler, you want to ask them to come in so we can get back to business at hand? I know we have a rather large agenda still in front of us. As the hour is getting long, and I'm losing my beauty sleep, we must move on. I admit I'm losing my beauty sleep. Okay, we're going to move on to discussion number 7, and/or action. The 2012-2013 budget timeline update from Mr. Simonetta, please.
Thank you. There was no action other than to talk about forming committees, but I want to let the entire board know that the 2012-13 Act 1 index is 1.7%, and the adjusted index for Easton is 2.2%. That's the basis by where we're going. The timelines, and presented it to the Finance Committee, and I thought it was going to be sent over to the entire board this weekend. It will be on this Friday. But there's just a couple of key dates I just want to announce. January 5th is the deadline for a resolution from the district if we're not going to raise taxes more than the index. And I believe that's where we're going to do. January 30th is the submission of the preliminary budget. February 2nd is the notice advertised for exceptions under the law. We have referendum exceptions based on the categories we can do, which I don't anticipate as well. May 1st, we will receive the state allocation notices. May 31st is the adoption of the proposed final budget, and May 30th is the adoption of the final budget. And I will send the entire timeline home in the packet to everybody.
Along with that, Mr. Simonetti, I think you need to make sure that particular timeline is in the packet for the new board for their first. Matter of fact, make sure it's the very first thing they receive, because they're the ones who are going to have to adopt it. I'm not trying to push this off. It's just, that's a fact of the reality. We're going to have several members leaving, and I think it's awfully important that they get that information as soon as possible. If I could get it out beforehand, I would, but I've been informed by legal that we can't. So, we won't. But I think that should be sent to them as soon as we can get it to them. I'm looking in the back. I'm sure Mr. Ryder is appreciating it. I'm trying to get it to him as fast as possible. With the next thing, solar energy opportunity, Mr. Simonetti. This is yours too.
Yes.
When you're done, I don't have a little bit something to that.
Well, I will ask Henry to come up as well.
Okay.
We presented information to the Buildings and Grounds Committee
Yes, you did.
about applying for a grant that's due to be submitted by October 31st. A lot of questions came up at the Building and Grounds meeting, and we went back and researched some of the questions. There was a lot of, although it was approved to move forward for the whole board to consider, and that's why it's on the agenda, and I'll just preface Henry's discussion by it's on the agenda under discussion, because at this point, and Henry will be more detailed, I don't believe it would be in our best interest to move forward with this under this compressed timeline. So I want Henry to detail that a little more.
Again, we have been diligently working on this as best as we possibly could. And actually, Mr. Dave Turner is here from Tangent Energy in case there are any questions that are lingering from the presentation that we gave. I'm certainly not going to burden you with what is already a long night with the full solar presentation that I did last time. But Mr. Turner can answer any questions if there are any. But we have been working, and as Mr. Turner can probably also attest for me, the amount of information needed to finish filling out these forms requires approvals from local municipalities and code approvals. I've talked with the folks at Forks Township, and although they have ordinances and things like that they're developing, and some have them in place, the possibility of us getting letters and approvals and everything that we need by Monday is just, it puts everybody under a compressed timeline. And as I was going to say that Mr. Turner could probably attest that even some of the people who were ready to go with their solar projects, he's working very, very hard to try to get those projects going, and is having a difficult time just because the timeline between when these grants were made available and the deadline is compressed, even for, like I said, those people who were doing it. So, again, Mr. Turner's here if there are any questions, but what we're going to try to do is hopefully work forward with the district and continue to explore solar possibilities and even explore opportunities for the future if grants are offered again, so that we will be ready for it next time. And if not, then maybe there are some possibilities to do some solar with the district and other renewable energy going forward, even without those grants. So, but again, I'll kind of leave Mr. Turner here if anybody has any questions or wants to discuss anything with him.
Any questions for? If not, okay, thank you. With that being said, that since we're on the solar energy opportunity, you can stand up there, Mr. Edson. I am going to make a suggestion to this board that we do recommend to this board and the next board that we do have I don't want to call it green summit to be convened on a Saturday. This is only my recommendation. The board can follow it, agree with me or not. And we need to explore all opportunities and any kind of actions that we need to be educated on. And I will take your spirit of volunteer. No, I can't speak. You volunteered? You got it. Very good. So we will have Ms. Schaefer contact you. Hopefully, if it's with this board, if not with this board, I hope to push it off to a couple of fellows sitting behind you and make sure that they are aware. I think it's a great idea. We need to explore every avenue we can in saving funds. And I would like to recommend to the rest of the board that we take our CEO's recommendation at this point and not move forward with this project. And if anything else, let's move in the direction of the summit in which we can be better educated. That's my recommendation. I don't know if I'm out of line with it or not, Mr. President, but that's just me making a recommendation. If anybody would like to second on that.
I would second.
Anybody else discussion on that? With that saying, that motion, I'm going to put it into the minutes that we set up an energy summit with this board and the new board. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right, opposed? Okay. How to be done? You got it. You asked for it. You're going to teach it.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Now, the next thing on our thing is the Route 33 tax increment, the TIF situation. I asked this to be put on the agenda due to the fact that I was contacted last week and informed of various things that were going on with our friend Mr. Schrin and, as Mr. Engel put it, the farmland preservation people. And at this point, I'm going to yield to our liaison, who is Mrs. Ellison, on this TIF project, and ask her to elaborate on whatever information she's found out, because I sent her forward to go to the board meet to the county municipal meeting last Thursday. She can give us a little update and whatever actions this board wishes to take. This is now time to take that.
I did attend the meeting, the county council meeting, and just so everyone knows, this TIF proposal passed the township, it passed the school board, and the last passing body was the council, the county council. They passed that resolution 7-1 with one abstain, and it was a separate vote for the farmland preservation, which Mr. Engel referred to. And based on that, this tax increment financing is now moving forward. Since that time, and actually before that time, we had initiated some conversation with Mr. Schwinn and his representatives to set up a meeting where we could talk about a partnership between the business and his business and our public education, and see how we could move forward in a positive fashion in a true partnership in areas that he as a business might be able to look at our initiatives and moving forward in a partnership. The TIP is a partnership, and the hopeful outcome of this meeting will be that we'll have a partnership with the educational initiatives which we have ownership to. So I'm hopeful the meeting will proceed in a positive fashion, and I think it will. It sounds like it will, and I just wanted to let the board know that this is the plans for the near future.
14th?
Scheduled meeting is the 14th of November, Monday. Time, you will get the time.
1 p.m.
Okay.
The meeting will consist of representatives from the board, and then Mr. Schminn's representative that he has.
And our legal department.
And I think, right.
Well, not clear to me, what's the objective then of this meeting? Educational value, or is that?
The objective would be to discuss a partnership with the business and of Mr. Schminn's organization with public education.
To accomplish what?
That's the discussion.
Okay. I mean, I guess what I don't understand is where we're at in this whole process with the TIP approval, and what's the next step? So there's a date here, November 14th, and then.
I think the legal.
Maybe that could be helpful.
Okay.
I think, what Mrs. Ellison was talking about is something that, actually, both she had spoken to the people at the meeting, I've spoken to council, about the concept of some cooperative efforts to see how this development might benefit students in the district. That was not specifically defined. And now I think that the effort is to see whether or not there can be more definition of that, or at least move ahead a definition of who might make that definition in the committee. With regard to the actual TIF, at this point, the three taxing bodies have adopted resolutions, but they could reconsider those resolutions at this time for an undetermined time in the future until there is some commitment on the borrowing end. I think at that point there's an opportunity to reconsider it.
Yeah, so we had a.
But basically, I think the idea is to put some bones on the concept that he.
I mean, we heard a long presentation a couple months back about the TIF. They really pushed this idea that this project will not go forward if this deal as structured is not approved. And now, since then, the county has gotten $2 million of value out of this project. Yeah, that's evidence that this project can go forward without the TIF approved as it was originally structured. I don't know if anyone has any other thoughts on that. We kind of had that rushed through. We had a resolution thrown in front of us that night. They tried to skip through it, point to a couple of comments, and hey, we need this done now so we can move this through county council. And I think we felt some pressure there. We tried to work with them, and then I think separate from that, I think county council put a little bit more pressure on them. We're able to get some value out of it. And in addition, the other thing I'd say is that I've never heard a clear explanation as to why. How we got from the developer acquires the land, is going to pay for the interchange, a bridge requirement comes along for $8 million, that's about 2% of the total market value of the land within the TIF, as presented by the Beecher Group. In addition, the developer owns land outside the TIF district, and this 2% is within the margin of error of the value that was presented from that study. So that requirement comes along, it's small, And now this TIF proposal comes along asking for the full value of the interchange, bridge, exits, entrances, everything, and that's kind of sailed through. So I'd ask for the board to reconsider what's been presented to us and what we've proved, just given, some of the evidence again that we see with what's happening at the county level.
Anybody else want to speak? Okay, I have a particular problem with this new development because of the simple fact, I don't care if it's farm preservation land or not. Is that all of a sudden, magically, some money disappeared. And now it's into, I guess, a foundation. It's interesting that we came to the table bargaining in good faith. And my interpretation of this is that we are working as a partnership, but yet, if there's funds that are going to be available and they're going to be dished out, why can't they be dished out to this district and we get a piece of that? I don't care that later down the line, we're going to be reaping the rewards. I think the biggest problem I have with it right now is the fact that there was something, and whether he wants to call it a backroom deal or not, from our friend who was here earlier, and the same friend that called us about the crybabies and whiners. I find it a little hard to comprehend. I find it a little hard to swallow that there is something out there. Now, I'm more than willing to sit down and talk to these people, but the fact of the matter is, I think there's been a little deception here, and I just don't know if I'm quite comfortable with this. If I'm correct, John, if I'm wrong, if we didn't sign the actual TIF and just sign the resolution, we do have the right, if we wanted to rescind our vote. Is that possible or not?
Well, at this current time, in my opinion, the board does have the prerogative to rescind. Now, this was also checked with the Department of Community and Economic Development, and they didn't have any different opinion. At some point, that prerogative will be lost when, as the deal progresses, more and more reliance is placed on that approval, and certainly at the point at which a borrowing is actually made based upon the representations, the resolutions of the various taxing bodies. At that point, it's going to be pretty immutable. Now, that's not necessarily next week or next month or a couple of months, but if the longer the board waits, the less ability it will have to reverse its action.
Yeah, the school district contributes about 76% of the money going into the TIF. The county's at about 15%. I think this $2 million, up to $2 million we're going to get is probably not far off of what they'll end up contributing. So at the end of the day, they're getting a chunk of money that's going to satisfy an initiative. I don't care if it's going to the county directly or to some other entity, but it's money that's going to accomplish something the county wants to accomplish. And I think education is as important, if not more important, than open space.
Okay. Anybody else?
I think as we move forward, I can appreciate everything that President is stating here and also your statement, and I think that we all have similar concerns. And to lend itself to a positive environment to move forward as a partnership, I think like Mr. Meyer said, we entered in good faith with the partnership with the TIF, and we are the largest taxing body. Ultimately, in 20 years, if everything pans out the way it was intended, it will be a positive thing for all of the taxing bodies. Until that time, the district does lose the most.
So you're accepting the premise that this project will not happen if this proposal doesn't go forward as it's currently structured.
No.
I believe that there are some counties that cap the diversion rate at 65%, 75% for high value added projects. We're at 100% for years 1 to 5, 80% from years 6 through 20. We're on the high end of this thing. So, I go back to the fact that developers are going to pay for the interchange. You add some percentage to the project because of the scope change. They needed to do a bridge. I think a logical request is to include the cost of the bridge in the TIF. They went to the other end of the spectrum, way over to the other end, And now, I think that there's ability to pull them back without saying, kill the project. And to me personally, asking for some just educational value out of this, I think is insanity, to use Ron Angle's words.
In a different
I
way.
didn't think anybody ever want to use one language words.
I understand, I appreciate what you're saying, absolutely. I think that, you know, where we are right now, we have to assess where we are, what's occurred throughout the
Clock's ticking.
The clock is ticking, absolutely. And in good faith to sit down and establish a conversation with Mr. Schwinn and his representatives.
I'd be much more comfortable having that conversation with this approval being rescinded, and let's have the conversation, and let's see where it goes.
Well, am I to?
I think the facts have changed here, as we understood that, what happened at the county level, and I think a reasonable approach is to, okay, let's take a step back, time out, we pause, they had, it took a time out on their project when they were presented with a new fact. They had a Clawson Bridge added to their project. We now have a new fact. The county has been able to pull $2 million of value out of this project. This is a massive project. If this, no one that is pushing this project fully understands the economics of this project. Can the developer at full build out as presented by the Dietrich Group afford this interchange? I think he can. And no one's considering that whatsoever. It's amazing to me, as someone that's been involved in large projects, that the questions that have been asked and the answers that I've received for questions that have been asked are horrendous.
Let me just make a comment. This is not politics, but just one thing I'm concerned about. Mr. Castrovinci makes, I think, a valid point. However, there's one thing that I'm not certain of, I can't advise you on, and that is whether if the board feels that it wants to go in from a position of, in essence, strength to discuss whatever it wants to discuss with regard to what benefits can be diverted to the school district. I don't know, I'm not able to tell you whether or not if we rescind this, whether or not Humpty Dumpty can be put back together again. I don't know the answer to that. With regard to largely the other commitments that have to be made in this deal, the filings with DCED, I don't know the answer to that. So I caution against any precipitous action tonight until we know what the consequences of that decision might be. Knowing that we can push Humpty Dumpty off the wall. We have the ability to do that. I just don't know whether we can bring.
You don't know that you can. You don't know that you can't either.
Well, I know, but I mean, if we move to
You sound pretty unsure to me.
If I can offer one other possibility, it would be that we take an action to schedule a meeting within a week of that November 14th meeting to decide what Frank is suggesting. And that way you would establish just what kind of good faith partnership is going to be evidenced on that 14th. And still probably preserve our right to take an action.
certainly have better information for you on that as well. Just saying, if you do it tonight, we're acting in the dark, because I don't have the information for you.
Okay.
Can I just say one other thing? I think that everybody needs to recognize that in my conversations with the TIP committee and with Mr. Schwinn and his representative, he is in good faith saying that he sincerely wants to have this meeting to work in cooperation with the district for the success and the well-being of the education department that we put forth to our public, to our youth. So that being said, I can appreciate what you're saying. I also appreciate the fact that Mr. Schwinn has been willing to and is interested in and wants to come forth and
I haven't
be
seen evidence though. I haven't seen
well,
it.
the fact that there's a meeting scheduled
With that said, and with the fact that we're trying to make a happy meeting, it's my suggestion here that we take Dr. Moscatis' recommendation and all the input of everybody else. We are available if we want to meet on the 15th or the 16th Tuesday or Wednesday, right after that meeting. And we can have a meeting of the board for that, a special meeting on that subject. And we can make up our mind at that point there. I think that's the right way to go. We're giving him a chance to come forth with his good faith effort as to what he wants to do. We'll be able to sit down with him whenever board members can make this meeting. And it's my recommendation that we either go to the 15th or 16th. Does anybody look at your schedule? Is there a problem with that date? Tuesday and Wednesday.
Okay, is there any way, because I think our next meeting is when?
Our next meeting is the 9th.
So is there any way to get the meeting moved up, so we wouldn't have to hold a special meeting and then possibly cancel it, if we don't have to rescind it? You're gonna have to advertise it, and if you have to, and we're not gonna rescind it, if they come through in good faith, then we don't have to cancel it.
Yeah,
Well, there were conflicts on the 7th. I tried to get the 7th or the 9th. There were conflicts with different parties on either day, either or day. So I was trying to find a day that was consistently available for everybody. So I mean,
How about then October 31st to,
Mr. Schwinn was not available until the week of the 7th, and that's where we started to look with the 7th. The 7th, there was one party that wasn't going to be able to be in attendance, but that isn't necessarily a person that has to be there, that one person, but it would be inclusive of what we were thinking would be at the meeting. So if you wanted to look at the 7th,
because that way our board meeting is on
The
the
ninth.
9th.
It can be
So
part of
would
it.
work out perfect, if that's the way you want to proceed.
board members avail?
Alternatively, is it possible to move our meeting back to the 16th, our regular board meeting?
We already advertised it. We've already advertised it, that costs money.
Cost. It would
That's a
be
big
cost.
cost. We've already advertised tonight. Only thing
well, what I
is,
can do is I will send the email out tomorrow and see if we can go back and look at the 7th again.
And if-
And just keep in mind that the 14th was available for everybody.
On the side.
yeah. Let's make sure the most important people are there.
Yeah, I can be available, especially this afternoon.
Afternoon is 7.
In the meantime, maybe, also not going to also get the answers, more clarity if we can. Not that there is necessarily clarity on this, but just really concerned about what kind of damage we might do to the deal if we went ahead and took one tonight.
No, I don't think it's.
My concern is, again, the developer's getting a big incentive to pay for this interchange, and the point I tried to make 2 months ago is they are in sole control as to how they manage that. They're gonna sell land, and they're gonna price that land absolutely as high as they can. The competition's gonna be here, Schwinn's gonna be right there with them, and he's not gonna just lower his price so that he's gonna pocket as much of this as they can. And I'm just uncomfortable with that arrangement. I'm uncomfortable with lack of definition around what's gonna end up there. And I think there's a lot of things that we need to be considering. And there's a lot we can do. It could be lowering the diversion rates. If this thing was well defined and we're absolutely certain there's a lot of value there, I think everyone would be willing to dive into this thing. But right now, there's a lack of definition around what's going to end up at this location. And I think that there's a better way to structure this thing for the school district.
Okay. With that being said, those points, go ahead.
Question is, who's decided which board members are going to be attending?
I think it's optional for any board member who can attend.
Well, which meeting are you talking about?
7.
Well, only so many can attend, and this is a meeting that is solely.
Can't have a quorum, we cannot have a quorum. It's only the max 4. Cross me off that list.
Kelly is our representative, she's the one that should be going.
It's one of them. Whoever else wants to go.
She's the one that is.
She's going, she's she's going to be there. Whether, are you available?
Yeah, what's the date?
7th, if it's
It
possible?
would be the 7th if it's going to work. Just
So
so
there is
everyone
the 14th, I could
knows,
definitely
at
make
this
the 7th.
point, I have agreement on the 14th.
Right.
So,
What time? In the afternoon?
After
Have to be in the afternoon? Seventh is what we're looking at right now. If it's possible, if not, the 14th is already locked in. Correct? We're already locked in for the 14th.
well, let's just say this, I've got agreement on the computer that I have
Okay.
people that are available on the 14th.
Any other members interested in doing?
7th, I could do.
So, legal counsel, the board,
Their representatives, and their representatives. All right? You okay with that? All right, so let's plan on trying to get the 7th, not to have to rely on the 14th, and we'll make a decision after that point. We can't get that done, okay? All right, we're done with that. Let's move on to 8, personnel matters. Have approval of personnel matters.
Motion.
Second. Discussion. If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
None opposed. New business. A, student expulsion. Motion to adopt adjudication prepared by special counselor for one student, number 29275, indicating expulsion from the Eastern Area School District. And also student number 214943. Motion to, for expulsion on that. And they're supposed to, okay. Second. Don't feel like reading. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed. B, field trips. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? While we're at this point, I put a note in here for myself. Dr. Roberts, I have a question for you. And in the form of a report. Is it possible, because I know Mrs. Elson asked last year, and I'm gonna ask this year, can we get a report on just how many kids are being seen by Kids Feast?
We're actually having an update at the next,
Okay, can that full board get it?
all the board members will be getting an update.
Okay, because I want to know, in my own personal opinion, we're spending that money, I want to know if it's being spent wisely. If not, you know, because we did get rid of some career crisis counselors, and I'm I'd like some more information, so we can have that by the next meeting.
That's supposed to come in the board packet this week.
Thank you, and you'll be able to discuss that at the 9th meeting,
At the academic committee.
and then at the following board meeting, because I'm not usually at academics then. Okay, all right, we'll move on to that. C, Estonian contract. Motion. Second.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? B, music contract. Motion.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, now we're up to the DJ contract. Motion. Second.
Second.
This guy any good? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We're on to F, supplemental education service master contract. Motion.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? G, SAC conference. Motion.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? H, tech prep conference. Motion.
Motion.
Second. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
At this point, we need to look at our addendum that was given to us, folks. On the state theater contract. This is for our junior, senior formal dance for the state theater. Young man was asking that we do this tonight. Second.
Second.
Discussion. Can we go? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, let's move on to addendum adoption of policies. Motion.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Discussion.
Let me just mention that we do have Attorney Gilsbach here who assisted with the development of these cases and questions.
And she's done a very good job,
The
too.
resource. I think she made a lot of corrections too.
Okay, with that said, thank you, Aaron. All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Tentative adoption of policy 707. I understand, let me have a motion first.
Motion.
Second. Discussion. I understand Ms. Anderson has some objections, he's gone. Anybody? Oh, Mr. Anderson?
No.
Where's Mr. Anderson?
It's getting late.
I noticed that. Okay, anybody have any discussions, questions on this?
Are we gonna vote on this and then separately we'll vote on the?
That's a whole different policy that's coming.
It's
After,
isn't
one after.
attached to this policy.
No,
Is that how we're
no,
doing it?
it's a separate policy.
It's a whole separate policy, it's not gonna be an attachment or an addendum to this one. We are gonna make it policy 707.1.
I guess that's what-
Just for numbering purposes, but it's not gonna be in any way related to or attached to this one, it's gonna be its own separate topic.
Any other questions?
Well, did anyone take note of the things that Mr. Anderson taught?
We did.
I think Aaron also talked about it.
Okay.
We'll go over that and make recommendations, see if they need to be considered.
Okay. The only other question that I would like to just add to
Sure.
that is concerning the policy, where I have it. When it makes reference to the weekends, we have all weekends, and I don't remember saying that we were gonna include, I thought Saturday was different than Sunday.
3 o'clock. We just said that in the meeting. 3 o'clock on.
After 3 o'clock.
After 3 o'clock on, it's the same rate as Sunday.
Right, so, but it indicates weekends, so it would indicate that the entire Saturday would be inclusive of a weekend.
And where are we at here with that?
Well, if you look at the fee structure.
Okay.
Let me see.
I thought that was
Weekend
correct.
usage.
We need to clarify that it's supposed to be from 3 o'clock on Saturday.
It says it on page 6, right?
Yeah, it's correct on page.
It's correct on page 6.
Yeah,
That's what we
Monday
did.
through Friday, 10:30 PM and Saturday by 3 PM, unless otherwise authorized.
It's right there in the regulations,
Page
it is
6.
page 6. So it's pretty spelled out.
Okay, so, yeah, so the fee structure would have to be consistent, correct? Because the way the fees are written out for the weekend, it just says weekend, it doesn't stipulate up until 3 o'clock on Saturday.
Aaron, could you make that adjustment?
Absolutely.
Okay. Is that what we need to do? Anybody else got anything? If that adjustment's made, are we okay to move forward with this policy? Any other discussion? I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, we're moving on to that. Okay, we're moving on to new business, Aquatic Swim Club Advisor. Motion to appoint Mr. Ed Black as the Aquatic Swim Club Advisor. Is there a motion?
Second.
Discussion. Well, I don't know about that. All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, we're moving to B, Aquatic Swim Club expansion. Motion.
Motion.
Second. Discussion. Discussion. I have a few points I'd like to ask about this. You're asking us to expand from 5 to 8 to 3 to 8. How many people is this going to incorporate by doing this? Mr. Black, since you're the advisor, would you come to the podium and answer my questions?
Yes, sir. We currently have the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and we have like 40 swimmers. So just including the 3rd and 4th grade, I expect to get 10 swimmers out of 3rd grade, 10 out of 4th grade. So it'd be like 20 more kids.
And how many hours are we spending operations over pool?
Just 1 more hour.
So what are your hours now?
My hours now are 6 to 7:30 with the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. What I'm going to do is have the younger kids the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, I'm gonna combine them, and they're gonna swim 6 to 7, and then the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade will come in from 7 to 8:30.
Now, Mr. Case, my question to you is how often are we bumping the cycle to pool for cleaning?
Well, as far as cleaning it for custodial services, the
So, I
gentleman.
mean, how often is the filtration system running through?
I mean, obviously, we're adding more people to the pool, we're gonna tax the equipment a little bit more.
It's a 50-year-old pool that we just spent a lot of hours.
I don't know that the numbers that he's looking at right now are gonna be that much more extreme on what we already have, 20 kids.
But there's my concern.
I think if we were looking at like 100 kids, then I think we would have concern.
All right, here's my other concern with this. Is there any other facility at Comet that's already doing some of these swim organizations? What happened to the YMCA?
We had the 3rd Street Alliance, and they closed that pool down, and now the YMCA was the other winter swim team, and they only had like 25 kids sign up, so they told the kids to go to either Bethlehem Y or Nazareth Y. So, I mean, that's the problem. It's the only indoor facility in the Eastern community where kids have the chance to swim right now.
I don't mean to throw a fire into or add wood to the fire. Here's my concern. I'm looking at this grade from 3 to 8 to 12. It seems to me that we just became the feeding program for a swim organization on the backs of every taxpayer in Eastern. And I'm not, I'm all for programming and doing what we got to do. I'm playing the devil's advocate here. How is it fair to the other various sports we have that now, because now if we start this, I got a funny feeling we're going to have other people wanting to use various other facilities, including fields and everything else, and that's going to put a drain on the taxing body, which is everybody in Easton.
So like I stated, that there are baseball fields, football fields in any township. Easton City, Easton has them, Palmer has them, Forks has them, but there's no available access to indoor facility swimming pool except out at the high school currently, and that's the only reason why we're asking. And by the way, these are all Easton area school district kids, and there's no cost for them, but to give them the chance to swim as a physical exercise or for water safety training, whatever, that they can get into the water and swim.
I understand that, and I also understand that is also our classroom that we have to maintain, and that's one of my big concerns. I am playing devil's advocate today, just so you know. It's nothing personal against you and what you're doing. I'm trying to throw various things out in case various board members want to go with it, because I remember the repairs that were done on this pool, and I remember me coming back begging this board to give me money to put a new filtration system in and new lines and being rejected. And I'm sitting here and I was told then, 2 years ago by my crack staff, that this is just a Band-Aid, Mr. Myers. This is not going to hold up. And what's scaring me is that this building was built and we opened up the doors in 1961 and it's 2011 and we still haven't done anything to that pool. And I understand that you guys are going forth with trying to get fundraising to raise money to put a new lane in and redo the whole thing, and I applaud the hell out of you for that. But at this point right now, I just don't know how much, beating this facility can take. And I'm a little concerned with that. That's just my concern. That's just me. That's why I'm asking questions, going out to the various board members in case anybody else wants to chime in. And I'm done with my questions. If anybody else has anything, Mr. Black.
I'd like to say this. The program that Mr. Blackman presented, it would be phenomenal for the students in this district. It's a life-saving skill that he teaches. It's also health. It goes the gamut, and it's something that the district would provide for the students. And I will say this, if you're concerned about the usage of the pool, or if anyone is here, then maybe we ought to be looking at the people who use the pool that are outside our district that pay no taxes to us, because those are the areas that I get concerned. I think that if we can use the pool to benefit our students, Mr. Black or whoever would be doing that should be applauded. Why aren't we controlling the out-of-district usage of that pool if we're so concerned about our pool and the longevity of it?
I would like to know the number of people outside of our district that are using it. If there are, the numbers are less than 10.
We declined that 2 years ago.
We did we not say they could not come in 2 years ago? That's okay. So the point is, that, you know, I understand what you're trying to do, and I applaud you for everything you're trying to do. Ed, I've known you since we were 8 years old, so we go back a long way. I'm just playing devil's advocate here at this point. I really don't have an opinion one way or another. I just want to make sure that we're doing the right thing for our facilities. As a buildings and grounds guy, I have to look at the facilities.
You do it for everybody else, every sport that we have has a building up from the ground level. And you're right, the community has fields that we don't have to worry about, they're not on our fields, obviously. And everything that has subdivisions are doing it except HB. I think we can hit that. If your maintenance person says that that amount is not going to hurt them, and we see that this is the case, then I think we're fine in doing this. If we find out that this is costing us now because we have some pool problems, then we have to stop it.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
This isn't exactly for this forum, it might have to go to academics and ed, but is there a possibility that we could look at, instead of having kids necessarily taking swimming, for those students who already know how to swim, for example, our swim team, to test out a swim class, so that it's less taxing on the pool, and then they can also participate in the other gym activities since they already know how to swim. So maybe we could take that to academics and ed, if that would be the proper place to discuss it, so that maybe we can discuss that with our buildings person and
Like an idea?
principals. We did that one.
You can
You took this one test, you just, you takes with it.
So maybe we can revisit that, and I don't know if academics and ed would be the place, to
Okay.
give opportunity for us to have less stress on the pool.
Okay. More discussion on this?
Mike?
You'd like to let, go ahead.
I think Pat said it right. I mean, hard to believe that 20 additional third and fourth graders is going to tip us over. So what Jody has said is if that is a concern, that's a great way to solve it. So I would move that we accept the proposal as stated.
My point with this is because I can remember sitting here a couple of years ago and getting our head slammed against the wall because the pool was filthy. Is there not a board member here who sat here and got kicked in the groin 5 or 6 times about things? So I'm trying to cover our backs because we've had to sit here and be attacked. So I want to make sure everybody understands that, you know, this is the reason why I'm doing this.
Right.
I'm not trying, I'm just putting it out there. So
I don't have that memory.
Oh, so that's why I'm doing what I said. With that said, I'll close that and I'll call for a vote. Oh, we have no second. Thank you, Council. Is there a second? Okay. With that said, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. Junior high wrestling team, motion. Second. Discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? New business from Mrs. Simonetta, Eastern High School pool. What we have in front of us now is a motion for Stone Farmer pool design plan allowing the Aquatic Task Force to begin fundraising. That's what they're asking for. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there a discussion? I don't, unless he wants to, we've already pretty much seen. Anybody have any questions for Dr. Stone Farmer?
And they also do this pro bono.
Yes. You did this pro bono?
To this point, yes, we have.
You're a good man. All right, with that said, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, that's, there you go, Ed, go for it. B, document vault, dehumidification system at the Eastern Education Center. Motion.
Motion.
Second. Discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Buildings and grounds, financial matters. Motion. 1 through 5. Second. Discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Resolution concerning conversion of 2002 bond issue, which was already expressed by our Bonds man, Ken. All those in motion, can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Second.
I'm getting punched on the vote. Discussion. All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? 212, 213 fuel oil bid. Motion.
Motion.
Second. Mr. Simonetti, have any conversation on this, or you just wanna go?
No, this is just approving to participate in the bidding, and
Okay.
we'll accept their rules.
All right, anybody else got any discussion for this? So that said, all those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Refund request, motion for 1 through, whatever, 4. Motion. Second. Discussion, there's no discussion. All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? D, scholarship award. Motion.
Motion.
Second. Discussion.
I just have one question.
You can answer.
I can't.
You can. I think you can.
Is this going to be a building usage charge for this scholarship, the basketball tournament that revolves around this scholarship?
You're doing it at Sports Center. They're not doing it Eastern, they're doing it at the Sports Center.
Oh, okay, I misunderstood that.
Yep. They're going to the Sports Center. Okay, any other discussion? Motion.
Where we got that?
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, establish of student activity. Joan, you caught up with me? Good. Motion. Second. Discussion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? Financial matter. We still okay, Joan? Have a motion.
Motion.
Can I have a second? Discussion. If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're moving to interested citizens on non-agenda items. Please step up to the podium if you have something to discuss. Yes, Mr. Taylor.
I'll make this very brief. I just want to get clarification of something. The meeting that's going to occur regarding educational opportunity for Mr. Schrin is a non-agenda item, correct? Thank you. I would just ask that in regard to this timing, if in fact Mr. Schrin enters into some agreement financially regarding this between now and the 7th or the 9th or the 14th of November, would you please just check with your solicitor, because I believe that if there is a signature on a document involving financing of this, we're pretty much stuck with this. And I want to make sure that that's correct. So I can't ask him, but if you would be kind enough.
That is correct. And he'll be with us at that meeting.
Because the attorney for Mr. Schrin left here immediately after the decision was made to have a meeting on the 7th or the 14th. So I'm just saying that this district is still left in a rather precarious position in that regard, if in fact any financing document is signed between now.
Nothing can be signed until the full board votes on it.
Well, you've already voted.
We've gotten to a financial agreement that you're talking about?
That's what I'm talking about. That where we are right now is, I just want to make sure that I, as a taxpaying citizen, understand you've agreed, every other taxpaying entity involved has agreed, and if the owner enters into a financial agreement with a bank, signs on the dotted line between now and the 7th or the 14th or whatever that date is, we are where we are, and there isn't any changing that environment. Is that correct? I just want to
We'll have further definition from the board, but frankly, I'm very familiar with how these how these borrowings work, and I think it's pretty unlikely that we're going to be included in the next few weeks anyway.
Terrific. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. That was my concern. Thanks a lot.
I'm glad you feel better than that answer. I feel a lot better than I do with that reply.
Well, I appreciate that too. So.
That's why I feel a degree of uncertainty that I'm extremely uncomfortable with right now with regards to this. I mean, that didn't sound very certain that something's going to happen between now and that meeting. I see a degree of possibility here that I think there really give us reason to pause.
I know the attorney, he's very competent, and he fired out of here,
Yeah.
so, that's all, I just,
Yeah, am I able to make a motion to rescind this? If anyone's with me, I'm making an argument here, and, you know, I don't know if anyone agrees with me or not, but I'd make a motion to rescind the TIF proposal as it's currently structured.
Do you have a second for that? Well, a second, your motion can't be carried.
All right, we'll look at the risk.
All right, am I correct with that?
That's correct.
All right. Anybody else on the interest?
If I could, real quick, Bill Timmon. I'm passing around paper here. I'd like for all the board members to take a look at it before I really go much into my concern here. What is on the paper is a copy of a note my son gave to his teacher after he had made a major mistake in judgment. And in a response from the teacher in kind. The problem I have here with this is that my son could not read the teacher's response. It was not due to poor vision. My son is in the enriched class in the 5th grade level. The problem I have here is that since longhand has been taken out of the curriculum, that children are not being taught it. And yes, my son misspells apology. But the thing is, this is something that's been taken out of the curriculum. This is a basic skill. It's been taken out in favor of spending more time teaching them how to work with MS Word, which lets them use less of their brain function because there's automatic spell check. I've discussed this already with Dr. Roberts, Mr. First, and Dr. Simeon. I had to make a specific recommendation that my son's spell check be turned off in his reading and writing classes. I honestly think this is appalling. There should be no reason that I should have to request my son's spell check to be turned off because it never should be turned on. These kids aren't learning what a dictionary is anymore. These kids, what's going to happen when my son and all of his fellow classmates graduate and then a few years later they start having children, they send a note into school printed, and then the teacher writes a note to send home. Now these parents can't read what the teachers are sending home. I hope that the school board here understands where I am extremely concerned in this aspect, and I would hope that, unfortunately, a lot of times I hear that there's discussions about this and discussions about that. I would hope that this would be something that is no longer really labeled as a discussion, more as an action, and something serious has changed in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you. Has cursive writing indeed been taken out of our curriculum? Yes?
We teach cursive writing in 3rd grade. I can't speak beyond that.
Well, if it's at 3rd grade, at that point, that's usually when it's done. Am I correct?
It is, you know, we're actually talking with Dr. Simeon about pieces of this, but there isn't necessarily a specific class or a specific piece of that. It's not part of the curriculum, it's not part of the standards right now, and that's kind of what PDE is organized around.
Department Ed's already organized this?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what to say that, you know, and I argue with he said all he had to do was not his son paycheck.
Okay, let's do some more research on this, if it's possible, get it academics and then come up with some sort of formula or something we can work with this. Okay? That's an action we can take. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah, I'm sure. Tracy, I don't know, do you know the other elementary school? I know
Optional.
at Chester, he did get it.
It is standard in 3rd and 4th grade.
difference, third grade is a teaching year, we buy a resource, if you will, a book from Zaner Bloser. Fourth grade, we have our own duplication center create a practice book. So third grade is the core instruction, fourth grade is still a practicing year at the elementary level, and that is consistent across all 7 elementary buildings.
Thank you. I think, let's work with that. If we get a response back, I think that should answer any questions we got with that. Anybody else? Nobody else? Going once, going twice, go on. Correspondence acknowledgements. Or no correspondence? Moving on. Miscellaneous ad hoc committee. Dr. Muscadis.
We had a meeting on the September 28th, 3 items for your attention. I was able to discuss the Easton Area School District needs in better billing transparency, thanks to Ms. Buckman, and I got a very good response from the director. So I think we'll have progress there. You may have read that there are changes in their transportation arrangement. The drivers have voted to unionize, and so there's going to be a negotiation that the IU will be engaged in. Okay. And the last item, on November 1, there is a virtual town hall. If you look at the handout in your last packet, it explains it. It's about a new teacher evaluation system, and this is something that IUs are linking together, and they're inviting any board member can attend at the IU November 1.
Okay, thank you. Eastern Area Public Library, neither representative is here. CIP, Mrs. Mandarino, I yield to you.
We had a meeting, it went rather quickly. We're usually out really late. Next one's November 10th.
Okay. NCC Board, Dr. Benedict Candle's not here, but Mr. Fennell, could you give us a report since we haven't heard anything from the community college and you're there? Bob, could you do it? Could you do me?
Very quickly.
Before he does, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Like, we've had several meetings that he hasn't been able to attend.
Yes, ma'am.
So, is there any representation from the school district when he's?
Yes, I can answer that one.
Okay.
Both Dr. Kasai and Dr. Betts attend almost 100% of the meetings, and as well as some of the additional events that go on.
And they are our representatives.
And they are representatives from Easton.
You're from Easton, you're not the board representative. My question was someone from the board, is someone from the board representing the district?
I don't know if we can send a substitute, I don't think we can.
No, until Dr. Volcano was set aside or anything, you can't. So, and in essence, that's a similar position for me right now. I still represent the Wilson district, so I report back to them every month that I show up at their meetings. And as well as I sit as the vice chair of the board at the college. Two quick items. The first is that this past week we had groundbreaking up in Monroe. We're getting ready to start the new campus up there. I think as I reported previously, the funding has all been in place. It's just a matter now of starting to move ahead, getting the plans out. And we're hoping to accept bids and everything in January, and shortly thereafter start actually turning soil and everything. The great news at the groundbreaking is, as well as that this funding is in place, which works differently for colleges than it does school districts, because up there we got half the money coming out of the casino money, and the other half is matched by the state then. So, yeah, what a great combination, isn't it? And so it really works. Obviously, the people were excited, and then that day there were various people there from Sanofi, Hughes Printing, and things like that. And their contributions were about almost $4 million that they were pledging on their own towards the college. So it's private donations, and there's more coming. And that was the end of basically the silent campaign, now moving into the public campaign for additional funding. Everything is covered. The second item is I was part of the search and part of the joint search committees as far as looking for a new president. We have narrowed the field down, and over the next few weeks the recommendations are going to the board, and they will then start to interview the finalists to determine who will become the next president of the community college. So it's been quite a process, and I know the interviews with these candidates is going to be quite extensive. We're looking to spend about 2 days with each one, and then see where they are, see where we are, and then go from there. So the process is continuing. Any other questions? Thank you, Bob.
CSBA, Mrs. Leonard Ellison.
Well, several of us from the board and the superintendent, and I think Mr. Point also attended part of it, for the legislative one.
Mike was there too. CEO.
Oh, Mike, yeah, Mike. Well, administration board, I included you in the board.
Okay.
Attended the legislative annual meeting, and all of us attended different types of breakout sessions and seminars with a lot of information. And I personally attended some breakouts. One was pertaining to community involvement in school districts, which was very interesting and informative. And I think other people have also some similar experiences that I'm sure they'll share and bring to the table as we move forward. And that's about it.
Okay. It was a very informative week. I went to several things while I was there myself. Learned a lot. Found out a lot of valuable things. Also found out some things about the solar thing that threw me for a curveball that we weren't quite aware of. Spent a whole day listening to legal people. My brain was fried by the end of that day. John asked me if I was trying to take his job. And we ended the week in a positive note. We had a guest speaker from the Philadelphia district who is now a principal at a charter school in Delaware, who I found to be quite inspiring. And his words to this board is, board members are born, they're not made. But he was quite inspiring, you know. It was nice to see a guy who came up through and said, going into his third grade class, his mother took him by the hand and went up to his teacher and said, by the way, you're going to help my child, not can you help my child? And she went to fourth grade, and the same statement was made, and he gave all his credit to his teachers. And he wouldn't be where he was today if it wasn't for the fact that these teachers took the time to do that. And that same passion he spoke with, I heard tonight, so I must have, applaud some of the staff that's here. But it was, I should have been there years ago. I actually have to say that. I learned an awful lot. You got a chance to talk to other board members and presidents and superintendents. We had fun, but in the same breath, you learned a lot. A lot of things that they're trying to do now, we've already done. So guys, we're ahead of the curve when it comes to what we're doing with the school. But that's just my spin on it. And I'm done with that. I'm going to move on to the Aquatic Task Force. Ms. Elson.
They met last month and discussed the plans for the future potential goals. And at this point, do you have a meeting scheduled, Mr. Black?
Yes, November 7th.
November 7th. Okay, I didn't write it down.
Okay.
November 7th is the next meeting.
Okay.
And they'll probably will start with the fundraising adventures.
Okay. I think we talked enough about TIF. Can we pass that? Ms. Nelson?
That's fine.
Facilities utilization, we are not doing anything at this point. Okay, board members, any other reports from any other ad hoc committees? If not, we're moving on to standing committees. Mrs. Hess, academics and ed? October 26th is your next meeting?
November 3rd.
That's the next one.
November 3rd, is that what we are? November 3rd.
November 3rd is the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
6:30.
Policy. You're not to January, right?
Policy, I guess we're not meeting until January. I guess
Okay.
it's the way it's been stipulated. However, there are policies that Aaron is working on that we will be discussing at a policy meeting.
Okay. I've left it up to you two to make it look good. Okay. Athletic committee. Okay. Finance. Carrie.
Our next meeting is
30th.
Everybody's on the third? 6:30, 7:30, and then meet at 8:30. Okay. Okay. Village and grounds, we will follow, we'll start at 6:30, and I will be the nightcap, all right? Triple head, okay? Nice way to have that, me pulling up the rear. Okay, with that, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second. Okay.